It is Monday, February 20th. Welcome to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. I'm GHK Lall on the National Outlook. Today, it is a holiday week. We have one down, a big one down, later on Thursday. I trust that you had a good weekend and we are ready to face the week. Protests. There was a protest over the last week in Suriname, right next door. And it was about one thing. It was about many things, but one thing at the center of it. There are ongoing, I wouldn't call them protests, but strike action in Great Britain, Scotland, which includes Scotland, Ireland and Wales, Northern Ireland. And strike action is a form of protest, worker protest, saying that we are not doing well. We are struggling and we need help. In England and in Suriname, the protest, the strike action is about pressures on the population. People are feeling the squeeze. They are looking to government for help with ever rising cost of living. They just can't manage. They just can't manage with what they are making. As full-time workers, as part-time workers, as retirees, they just can't seem to manage. Prices are getting away from them. In Sri Lanka early last year, I think it was the first quarter, there were some huge protests that ended up with the Prime Minister, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, having to flee. Things have calmed down there, but as to how they have progressed since then, it's still up in the air. Did they make progress? It was about fuel shortages and fertilizer shortages. And we know when fuel is short, what happens? Everything else goes up. Prices of fuel goes up and everything else goes up. So citizens are crying out, and after they grow impatient with crying out, they take things into their own hands and go into the streets. Peaceful protests will always have my support. It will always have the support of this radio station, this newspaper. That's my conviction. If it doesn't, I won't be here and I won't be talking to you. Peaceful protest has its place and it has its power. Peaceful protest is power. The power of discipline, the power of the people in frank expression. We are hurting and we need help. It is why I'm very disappointed that the protests in Suriname went haywire. That businesses were looted, people went on the rampage. That's not good. It distracts from protests with great objectives. It gives leaders in government the opportunity to dismiss people as terrorists. So everybody gets lumped into one. A mob, you don't have a protest, what you have is a mob. In Guyana, we are struggling with cost of living. Many of our neighbors, our friends, our families, ourselves are struggling with cost of living. It's been steep. It's been punishing. It's been brutal. Every week we seem to be losing ground. Calls have been made by me, by others, by the publisher of this newspaper, in the newspaper itself and on the radio, and others. Give a helping hand to our fellow citizens. We have oil money. We are borrowing more money. We are taking out oil money, and we are bringing in more debt. And yet our people, too many of our citizens are hungry and are hurting. This just should not be in an oil-rich country as rich as Guyana. I hope I plead with the government, I beg the government, the PPP government, the president, the vice president, the minister of finance, do something, please. Help our struggling sisters and brothers. I'm GHK Lall on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. You were listening to the National Outlook.